Are you ready to design like a pro using the fashion design book? By now you've probably watched previous videos in this series, all linked through the fashion design book, on how to mix and match the different design details to create your own unique styles. However, we're going to keep going in this process. I thought it would be really good to show you another video. So specifically in this video, we are going to be mixing and matching a lot of those design details, including the necklines, possibly collars, sleeves, blouse silhouettes, or top silhouettes to create our own unique style. Now, what step should you start with? Should you start with the necklines or the sleeves or the body silhouette? Where should you start? Well, this is totally up to you. If you're looking through the book and something really grabs your attention, you can start with that. There is no right or wrong way in how to design and the order of designing. If you have something in your mind already for one part of a garment, start with that part and go from there. If you feel like you might have a design block and you don't really have an idea yet, just start picking and pulling and mixing and matching and see what happens. You will notice that there are many designs in the book that look like they're already designed. The reason why I've done this is to specifically show how certain parts of garments are sketched. It's not for you to pull that exact design and use it. You should be taking and pulling parts of it and adding it to your own designs. So, for example, a garment might show some ruching, which is gathering in a fabric that's pulled tightly to kind of create different wrinkles. Maybe you might want to use that aesthetic onto a dress. So the book shows you how to sketch specific things, but where you put them on the garments is totally up to you. And you can always mix and match. And you should always find your own design aesthetic that speaks to you. So if you're looking at some of the styles in the book and it's throwing you off, you're just looking at it and all you see are these design details within the garment, start looking at the outer silhouettes. Start from there if you're not sure where to go from that actual silhouette. Then once you have that silhouette defined, you can decide if you want specific design lines or different design details like pleats or gathering or ruffles, anything like that, anywhere else on the garment. And once again, there are two different methods in using the fashion design book. The tracing method, which is great for beginners to start understanding how to draw these things, or the reference method. The reference method means we're looking at the book and we're doing our own sketching without tracing. You can use either method, whichever works best for you. And if you're using your customized croquis, you might end up using the reference method. As you continue to go along in this video series linked through the QR codes in the book, you are going to find additional QR codes and videos throughout the book that speak to specific design details and how to draw those. So make sure you're also watching those videos. So we are going to go ahead and get started with the necklines, collars, and hoods, and we're going to be mixing and matching to create your own style. I want you to be following along and doing this with me, with your own style. Now, if you get overwhelmed with a lot of style details in here, I want you to simplify it down to only look at the actual silhouette. The silhouette means it's the outside lines of the garment. It's the shape of the garment. We can change anything on the inside of the garment, but sometimes just starting with the silhouette can be the easiest starting point. Now, there's no right or wrong. You might end up getting inspired by a sleeve shape and you might want to start with a sleeve, or you might get inspired by the collars and necklines and start there. This is totally up to you on where you want to start in your design process. So as mentioned earlier in the book, we have two options. We have the option of tracing or the option as using the book as reference for drawing. So either option, we're starting with our croquis or our customized croquis, whichever you'd like to start with. We've folded the tracing paper in half and I folded it in half again. And I'm going to trace the outline of my croquis that I'm using. And in other videos, you'll know that we talked about not having to trace the entire croquis every single time. This is really up to you and your design process. So it could be that you just want to do little tick marks to indicate the shape of the body, or you might just want to do the top portion or the bottom portion, depending on what you're designing. So I have her started on 1/2, and I'm going to design a top. Let's use the collars, and let's see here. Let's start with the asymmetric collar. To line it up, we're going to try to center it as best as we can on the sketch. And since this one is asymmetric, I'm going to draw the entire collar here. And this is the tracing method right now. If I was using the reference method, I would just have this alongside and I would draw it based on how this looks. That's the reference method. So we have kind of the shape like this, and we're referencing it and looking at it like that. Or we have the tracing method, which is a little bit wider. And this is really, these kind of design details are totally up to you for how big you want that collar, the shape. Maybe we don't want it pointed, maybe we want it rounded. All of those things are really up to you as a designer. I'm going to go ahead and keep it the way it is because I really like it. Now, generally when we're doing a collar, we're only doing half if it's symmetrical, but since this is not, we'll do the whole thing. Now let's look at those silhouettes of the tops or sleeves. I definitely like the bat wing for that collar, or even something like that could be really fun. So this is the fun part of just picking and mixing and matching. And if you don't like it, guess what? It's easy to erase. Way easier than it is to resew. So we have kind of basic silhouettes here, and we have other silhouettes within lots of design details. I like this trapeze style here, and I'm going to use that as my base. And I want it to be a little bit longer of a style, a dress, or I could wear it with leggings. So I'm going to shift my croquis up a little bit to get it lower. So that's the tracing method. Now I can't use this center front because I have an asymmetric neckline. So I would have to either come back to my center front or go straight all the way down from there for it to work. But let's look at the sleeve. What kind of sleeve would look nice with that? I like the pagoda, and we're going to go ahead and do that, but do it maybe a little bit shorter. So I'm going to keep some of the shaping up high, and then I'm going to shift it down a little bit to get more of a shorter sleeve there. So this is where it gets a little bit hard with that croquis underneath. So we want to start erasing those croquis lines, so you can really visualize the garment and not the body underneath. Okay, so I do need to draw that armhole in there. That's missing. I think this one we'll go ahead and put it at the true armhole position. And I'm going to leave the arm in there because I like having that visual of how that looks for my sketch. Go ahead and do that asymmetric center front, and we'll do buttons on the front and buttonholes. Then we will do the other side by folding it in the center and now drawing in tracing. And this is where that tracing paper comes in so handy. And it's so easy to cut this out and put it in your sketchbook or make a photocopy of it if you want it in regular paper. So you can see without the arm in here, it definitely looks a little bit strange to me, this type of sleeve does. So it could be better to have the arm in there, but that's really up to you as the designer to visualize it in your best way. So I'll go ahead and trace that arm in there. So we've just mixed and matched our style from the fashion design book. That's so much fun, new style totally. I could totally envision this in a little bit thicker of a fabric, something for winter time and a woven fabric. It'd be so much fun. So as you become better and better at sketching with the book, you're definitely going to want to move on to that referencing method, where you still trace the croquis as a starting point, but then you actually draw the clothes on the croquis. And you just reference the book for how different design details look or different silhouettes. Join me for the Flat Garment Sketch Challenge on social media. I want you to post a photo of your flat garment sketch that you made using the fashion design book. Change it up as you want using your own design aesthetic, and post it to social media using the hashtag #FlatSketchChallenge and another hashtag, the fashion design book. I'll be looking at all of those posts. I can't wait to see what you come up with. And the winner will get a bundle set of the book, printed book signed, plus Adobe Illustrator and PDF version, plus a 30-minute live Zoom call with me so that you can talk about any sort of design, sketching, or rendering topics you might have. In case you don't have the fashion design book, you can find it on Amazon and most online book retail stores, and there's a link to it in the description below. I'm Gina Renee, and I teach online pattern making and design courses so that you can design and sew clothes you love that fit. If you've enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.